welcome to Psalmic Saturday here at Ariel's Corner. This is Ariel Gatoga, and we are streaming live on YouTube and on Twitch. I'm super happy to be here today. I hope you are as well. Moderating today on YouTube is the lovely Shirley, and moderating on Twitch is the lovely Deline. Thank you so much, Shirley. Thank you so much, Deline, and thank you to everybody for joining us today. We do have a premiere today, so I hope you can come back at 11 a.m. Pacific, which is just over 40 minutes from now on YouTube, and join us for that. We have a good time on our premieres. At least I have a good time on our premieres. Let's see, we have a shop, arielscornershop.com, and just to let you know, we are doing something with that shop. I'm not quite sure what it's going to actually be, but we are overhauling it a little bit. So, but for the meantime, we do have the old shop up there, and it's just got a bunch of affiliate links on there, and we do make a small commission off of each and every sale. So it is a fun and easy way to support our channel should you decide that you would like to do that. Another way to support us is with a donation, and that you can do by going to paypal.me/arielgatoga, paypal.me/arielgatoga, or on YouTube you could use a super sticker, super chat, or super thanks if you feel like giving us a donation. We have a website, arielscorner.com, arielscorner.com, and you can find everything we have there, all kinds of cool stuff. And all that stuff is free of charge, so just enjoy yourself. You can find all the courses and booklets and whatever witchy woo that you want there. We have at the bottom of each page on that website, arielscorner.com, are links to our social media. And two of those links are of special importance for those of you who would like to get involved at all with our community, chat with others, ask questions, give support, receive support. One is our Discord server, and the other is our private Facebook group. So please check that out. Join us. We would love to have you be part of our community. Another way you can be part of our community is right now, if you feel like chatting, you can take advantage of the chat threads that are on each of the streams. And if you happen to have a question for me, you can put it in that chat thread, and I will most likely have time to do a couple questions before the end of the stream, just because the psalm isn't super long unless I end up getting long-winded, which I've never done that before, have I? I've never gotten long-winded. Okay, let's see. We are working our way through a Witch's Primer Revisited. So we will be doing lesson 7 this next week. So that's every Thursday on our Thrilling Thursday show. And so I hope that you enjoy that. If you're not part of that and you'd like to be, we'd love to have you there. After we're done with the Witch's Primer, we're going to go through the rest of the trilogy. We're going to do Witchcraft Beyond the Basics, followed by Advancing Your Craft, and each of those courses are 6 weeks in length. All right, well, I guess that's it. I'm sure I'm supposed to say something else, but I can't remember what it is. Other than, I'm super happy you're here. Let's get going on our psalm spell. Oh, I know. No, it's nothing that just be prepared. I think I forgot to do the, I'm going to just open up my overhead real quickly. I knew I forgot to turn down the meditation music. Okay. Sorry about that. Sorry. Okay. Proactive. All right. Now we can do our psalm spell. Ariel, stop pressing buttons. Just stop pressing those buttons. Uh-oh. Oh, here we go. Today we are working Psalm 20. Psalm 20 in Psalm Magic is frequently used for people that are in the armed services if they are going into any kind of battle. It's also used to receive a favorable verdict in court. It's used for receiving blessings from on high, and it's also used for protection. Today, I would like to use Psalm 20 to help receive the outcome you desire in a particular spell or ritual. So I'd like to use Psalm 20 to receive an outcome that you desire. So you can just think of something that you're working on. Of course, you want it to be somewhat within your sphere of influence, but just keep it in mind as we're working the psalm and see if you can't speed up the manifestation of something that you're working on. Psalm magic is very simple and easy to work. You take the psalm that you're working and you read it out loud all the way through once without stopping. And then you go back through that same psalm and you consider each verse. And you try to find hidden occult meanings that lie within each verse. And think of it sort of like as when you're giving a tarot reading, you have to just let the cards speak to you and let your intuition be your guide. It's a similar thing with psalm magic. You just let the psalm speak to you and consider things. And it's by this deep contemplation of those inner meanings that we are taking the magic seeds that already exist within that psalm and planting them into the fertile ground of our deep minds, where they, in a very real way, take root, blossom forth, and then bear fruit after their kind. And that's exactly what we are going to do right now, you and I, with Psalm 20. Somebody asked me, what do I do if I don't have an athame? And you don't have to worry about that. This is just to keep the book open. Okay, it's just, there's nothing super witchy about it. It looks kind of cool, but it's really just to keep the book open. The Lord hear thee in the day of trouble. The name of the God of Jacob defend thee. Send thee help from the sanctuary, and strengthen thee out of Zion. Remember all thy offerings, and accept thy burnt sacrifice, Selah. Grant thee according to thine own heart, and fulfill all thy counsel. We will rejoice in thy salvation, and in the name of our God we will set up our banners. The Lord fulfill all thy petitions. Now know I that the Lord saveth his anointed. He will hear him from his holy heaven. With the saving strength of his right hand. Some trust in chariots, and some in horses, but we will remember the name of the Lord our God. For they are brought down and fallen, but we are risen and stand upright. Save, Lord. Let the King hear us when we call. All right, so who is the Lord? We have to orient ourselves to the topic of this psalm. The Lord is the infinite source of all that is, the one source, the one substance, the one power in all the universe. There's only one, and that oneness, that unity, cannot be thwarted. It cannot be destroyed. And since that is the one power of the universe, whomever that power is for, nothing can be against. And the Lord is always for you. So it's important that we orient ourselves and we connect and align with this truth when we're working psalm magic so that our success is assured, bringing to mind now that which you desire, that which is your heart's desire that you want to see manifest, and recognizing that it is the will of the infinite that your heart's desire manifest. The Lord hear thee in the day of trouble. The name of the God of Jacob defend thee. So the Lord, this force, hears you in any time that you're having trouble. And you can even think of the time of trouble as being when that which you desire is not yet manifest. That time that you doubt that you could ever have this or that this thing could happen for you, that's your time of trouble as well. So if you really orient this psalm toward that one objective of yours, you recognize that infinite intelligence is with you even as you're wondering if this is something that you could possibly ever have. And the Lord hears you. That means that it's not that infinite intelligence needs some sort of special ritual or some sort of special language, because infinite intelligence is sort of stupid and can't really understand you unless you do things in a particular way. Infinite intelligence knows you better than you know you. Infinite intelligence knows what you want, what you need, before you recognize it. So it's already baked into it. It's already dialed into the whole thing that infinite intelligence wants you to have this thing. And the only reason why infinite intelligence wouldn't want you to have this thing is if this thing isn't good for you, in which case something even better is on its way. The name of the God of Jacob defend thee. So Jacob is your, if you think about who Jacob was in the Bible as one of the patriarchs, Jacob, Jacob was renamed Israel. And so that means that Jacob was sort of initiated, you could think of. And the old Jacob, which was a Jacob full of mistakes and didn't do things right, didn't always get things right, but Jacob had his heart in the right place. And infinite intelligence renamed Jacob and said, you know what, you are named Israel, because we want to exalt you. We want to lift you up, and we recognize you for who you are, not necessarily for all of the mistakes you've made. And that's who you are. You're Jacob in that regard. So the Lord of Jacob, the God of Jacob, defends you. That means you don't have to defend yourself. In fact, it's better if you don't defend yourself, because when you defend yourself, you get defensive. And when you get defensive, then you put up blocks to your good. Whereas if you let the Lord defend you, if you let God defend you, then you're free. You're free to receive all the blessings that are here for you. Send thee help from the sanctuary and strengthen thee out of Zion. So that's who God is sending you help from the sanctuary. Now, where's the sanctuary? That sanctuary is the meeting place in your mind. And that's where Zion is. Zion is the sanctuary. Zion is that top of the temple on top of that hill. Mount Zion is that there's a temple there, there's a sanctuary there, and that's where you and God meet. And you have to climb up. That's your job. You have to climb up to the top of the hill. You can't expect the infinite to do your part for you, but you also can't expect you to do the infinite's part. So you just have to exalt your mind. You have to think high thoughts. You have to uplift your consciousness. That's climbing up that hill to meet this infinite intelligence in that dwelling place, in that meeting place, in that sanctuary. And infinite intelligence takes care of the rest. You do your part, and God never fails to do God's part. Remember all thy offerings and accept thy burnt sacrifice. Now we're being instructed here to remember our burnt sacrifice. Now that's not for us meaning that we have to kill livestock and burn it on an altar. That's, of course, that's part of an ancient practice in many cultures, not just the ancient Hebrew culture. It was true of the Druids. It was true of just you look back, you name the ancient cultures, and they had these burnt offerings, these ideas that what you add to the fire is something that you're going to have blessings returned to you. But don't think of it as that so much as think of your offering, because you always give God the best. You always give God the first fruits, the best things. So think of it more as being, what is your best that you can do? And think of the burning as the burning desire, that burning fire in your heart. What is your best? If you offer your best to God, God underwrites your efforts. But if you don't offer the best, there's not anything to underwrite. You can't just expect the infinite to be your servant. That's not a high, healthy way to think of anything, especially not infinite intelligence, not infinite love, infinite presence, this source of all your life. I'm going to just sit here and do nothing, but I expect you to fix this for me and do this for me, and I want you to decorate my house for me, go shopping for me. I want you to clean my toilet. I want you to do stuff for me. That doesn't sound right, does it? No. So you have to do your best, and the infinite will underwrite that and give you back exponentially more than what you put into something. So those are your burnt offerings. Those are your burnt sacrifices. And then it says Selah, which means just sit and think about that. Sit and think about remembering your offerings. Remember your burnt sacrifice. What is my best? What is the best I can come up with? What is the best I can do in this situation? I'm going to do my very, very best. I'm going to do it in earnest. And when I do that, it's not the same. It's not a mathematical equation that makes sense. You'd think if I did A and then B, then C would happen. But instead, you do A and B and you get the entire alphabet back and then some, plus all the numbers. You get everything back. So it seems like you have to work hard at stuff, but if you work hard in concert with the infinite, what you get back is so much more than anything you could ever come up with on your own. Grant thee according to thine own heart and fulfill all thy counsel. So it says, it's talking to us, grant thee according to thine own heart and fulfill all thy counsel. So what is your heart's desire? You have to ask yourself, what do I really want? What is the essence of this thing? What is it going to bring me? It's not so much that you just want to satisfy some sort of temporary lust. This thing represents a quality or maybe multiple qualities. So if what you're asking for is a job, what does that job give you? It gives you financial security. It gives you a sense of purpose. It gives you a great sense of joy that you're doing what you love to do. There's all kinds of essential qualities within this that you need to consider. You can't just give God your shopping list. You have to do your work. And part of your work is asking yourself, what is this doing for me? Why do I want this thing? What's the essence of it? What's the heart of it? We will rejoice in thy salvation. Oh, now we're talking to God. Oh, are we? And in the name of our God, we will set up our banners, and Lord, fulfill all thy petition. The Lord fulfill all thy petitions. This psalm is done in two different types of personage, depending on the translation of it. And this one, it seems like it's going back and forth. So, verse 5 is a little odd. We're going to redo that. We will rejoice in thy salvation, and in the name of our God, we will set up our banners. The Lord fulfill all thy petitions. So let's take it from the back and go backwards. God's going to fulfill all your petitions, not just a little bit, not just the ones that God thinks are good enough for you, but all of them. But we want our petitions to be filled in such a way that it is for our good. Because sometimes if you get the letter of what you ask for, it's not a blessing. It's not a blessing, it's a curse. Because sometimes we really do think we know what's best for us. And if we were stuck with only what we thought was best for us, we might really be in trouble. So infinite intelligence is fulfilling all your petitions, all of them. But that's why it's important for you to get to the essence of what you want in those petitions rather than the form, because sometimes the form isn't exactly what you think it is. We will rejoice in thy salvation. So the salvation is the solving of the problem or the manifestation of this thing. In the name of our God, we will set up our banners. So if you think about those banners that you're going to be setting up as think of it as preparing for the victory before the victory has happened, preparing for the manifestation before the manifestation occurs. Elsewhere in the Bible, it's called digging your ditches, preparing for the success. So let's say that you're asking for a new home. Maybe you might go and start shopping for furniture, or maybe if you're asking for a new job at a particular type of place, you might go shopping and start looking at least and trying on some business attire for this new position, that kind of thing. That's setting up your banners. That's digging your ditches. Now know I that the Lord saveth his anointed. You are the anointed. That's who you are. You're already anointed. You don't have to go through some sort of special ceremony or have anybody of this world anoint you with oil. The Infinite anointed you at your creation. You are an extension of infinite intelligence. That's how intimately joined you are. You're not separate. It's not like God threw you out of God's self somewhere on some deserted island and hope that you did okay. You still are connected. You are an expression of and an extension of the infinite. And you need to consider that and see yourself as that rather than as the separated ego that you've come to believe that you are. Because that's how God saves, because that's how you understand that you are anointed already. You don't have to do anything about that. You don't have to create being anointed. He will hear him from his holy heaven. That's where you reside. You reside in the holy heaven with the infinite. So he's hearing you from that, not because you're so far away, but because you're right there, having a dream that you're far away, perhaps. With the saving strength of his right hand, again with the defense. The right hand in the Psalms is always the warrior hand. That's the hand that wields the sword. The hand that wields the sword. And so since the infinite is already protecting you and defending you and providing for you, you don't need to be defensive. You don't need to protect yourself like that. You turn to the infinite to do it for you because that's what it's there to do. That's its function, is to not only give you life, but to sustain your life, to protect you, to provide for you, to be this all-loving parent, or para of parents is how many of us view the infinite, as a mother, father, God, goddess. Some trust in chariots and some in horses, but we will remember the name of the Lord our God. Well, horses and chariots are modes of transportation from the ancient times. So to get from where we are to where we want to be, you don't need to trust in any kind of worldly transportation system. You don't need a special car. You don't need a special bus. You don't need a special anything. You need the infinite. You need the name of the Lord, our God. Now the name is the nature. So if you sit and contemplate the qualities or the nature of the infinite, then that is the vehicle through which you are transported from where you are to where you want to be. So you can be transported right into the manifestation of your desire by sitting and contemplating the qualities of the divine. And that's the way to speed up the progress. So, and you can even be very specific. Let's say that you had the need for healing. Say that you're that you were going through something and you needed healing of your body. So then you'd start thinking about the name of God that deals with health. So that might be infinite life. Life is a wonderful way to heal your body, is by considering life. Considering what life is and how you are alive, and the principle of life itself is an extension of who you are, and your soul will live forever and ever just because it's eternal. And your body can thus be a reflection of your soul. It can be a reflection of that principle of life if you allow it to. So those kinds of things, thinking about contemplating the so-called names of God, meaning the qualities of God, especially the ones that might address whatever this thing is that you're wanting to manifest. That is much more important than, what do I do to get this, or what do I do to get that? That's trusting in horses and chariots. You want to trust in the name of God. They are brought down and fallen, but we are risen and stand upright. So the people that trust in the horses and chariots are brought down and fallen, but we are risen and stand upright. The reason why they fall is because they're putting their faith in temporal things. They're putting their faith in everything other than where the power lies. If you start putting your faith in your car, you start putting your faith in your money, you start putting your faith in your house, in your relationship, in your body, in any of these things in the world that are ultimately going to die, because that's this world is a world of death, then you will fall because you're putting your faith in things that don't last. But if you put your faith in the name of God, then you are contemplating infinite and eternal principles that do sustain you and do allow you to reorient your perspective into that which is eternal rather than to that which is temporal. So that way you don't fall because you're not putting your faith in something that is going to die. If you put all your faith in something that's going to die, you're eventually going to be disappointed. There's something almost comforting when you get it from this point of view. When you think about this world of mortality here, and you realize none of it will last, that's comforting if you think about it in the right way. For one thing, if you've got a problem, then you know that's going to die, because everything dies here. So at least that there's one comfort in that. But there's also comfort in knowing I don't have to stress out about this world because it's all just going to go away anyway. So I can just enjoy it for what it is, but I'm not part of it. Ultimately, I'm part of the infinite that exists beyond everything in this world. And that's how you are risen and stand upright, by realizing that you do live in a temporal world, but you're not temporal. You do have a body that's going to die, but you're not a body. You do have relationships that are not going to last forever in the form that they are in, but that's okay because you're not that relationship. And the true relationship that you have with that person can't die anyway because it's beyond personalities, it's beyond circumstances, and it's beyond bodies. Save, Lord, let the King hear us when we call. All right, so the King in this sense is not the infinite. The King is that part of the world that is able to grant you your requests, right? The part of this world that we always look to. So we're going to look to our bosses. We're going to look to the, whatever, wherever we think that we're going to get what we want out of a situation. You might look to the bank because they're going to loan you money. You might look to an employer because they're going to give you a job. You might look to a person because maybe you're going to allow yourself to fall in love with them. You're going to look to a doctor because maybe the doctor's going to heal you. So all of those things are channels. Those are the kings of this world. They are all channels for your good, but they're not the source of your good. So when we say, save, Lord, let the King hear us when we call, that means that through these channels, infinite intelligence does its work. But we recognize that the source of these things is not the channels. The source of these things is the infinite. And so we don't get upset when a channel dries up or when a channel changes. We understand that the channel is just the channel. And so those are the kings of this earth. And so we're not going to be afraid if the kings of this earth rise and fall, because those are just channels through which the infinite brings us our good. And the infinite is constant and forever. And that's where we put our faith. And that's why we can have utter faith that by working this psalm, that our desires are met, our needs are met. And whatever this thing is that we brought to the psalm, we can be assured that it is on its way in the most perfect form possible. So you just keep coming back to this psalm every day until you get a sense that what you've done, what spell you're casting, is cast. And you get that sense by how you feel. So when you get the sense of peace and certainty, it's like a click, then you know it's done. And you don't have to cast anymore. You can just move on to something else. It's just a matter of time. Thank you so much for spending some time with me. I so appreciate you. Until next time, blessed be. Okay, let's see if we have any questions before we end our stream. We do. I would like to know, when you mentioned the Pauline angel magic, is that related to the Apostle Paul from the New Testament? Oh gosh, so they say. I think the name is an unfortunate name. It's stuck, and we use it because it's traditional to call it the Pauline arts. The Apostle Paul never met the character Jesus in the Bible. Was a real jerk, and was actually anti-Christian, and supposedly had this conversion on the road to Damascus and became, the big guy of the New Testament. So the stories of Paul working with and having interactions with angels, I'm sure, is where that name came from. But I think ultimately that name came from that to sort of give cover to the magicians of the day so that maybe they wouldn't be executed by the church, who forbade such things. The church, forbade working magic, working with angels, all of that kind of stuff was not okay. And you could get executed for that, or at least imprisoned for that. And so I think a lot of these ancient grimoires where they started talking about things like the Pauline arts, or even in the Key of Solomon, where it's just so, so biblical, or the Arbitel of magic, where it's just so biblically oriented. That was an attempt, I believe, to give cover to the practices so that they might not, if they were caught, be executed or be imprisoned. And it worked to some degree. There was a lot more tolerance of certain magical practices that were very biblically oriented. But it really just depended on the time and the region. So, yeah, I do believe that the name came from the Apostle Paul, but reading the Pauline literature in the New Testament does not really give you much insight into the practices of the Pauline arts. So I think it's just in name only, personally. But there are differences of opinion. But thank you. That's a great question. All right, well, this was wonderful, and I really appreciate you being here, and I hope that you will join us in 10 minutes for our premiere on YouTube. And that one's a spell to overcome betrayal. It's another Psalm spell. It's a little bit longer, but I hope you can join us for that. And thank you so much to the amazing moderators. Today we had Shirley and Deline, and we will see you all over at the premiere. Until then, blessed be.